While traveling to San Diego, Cal and his sister Becky talk about how their parents aren't happy that Becky is 6 months pregnant and that's why they're fleeing their house. Cal stops next to a loo as Becky starts feeling ill, making her question their choice. Church to allow her to pass out. Becky claims to hear a voice as they prepare to depart. Boy in the dense grass yelling for rescue. Cal chooses to leave his automobile parked near the chapel and, retaliating, siblings reveal that the boy has been trapped in the grass for several days. In that instant, a woman's voice can be heard in the grass urging the boy to stop yelling, and a book can be seen on the side of the road. Cal chooses to wade into the grass to assist after assuming from the level of the voice that the boy is close to the road. Becky tries to contact 911 while following him, but as she gets more in, her reception wanes. Becky realizes she lost Cal in the grass when she puts down her phone. Something doesn't feel right, so she starts talking loudly to find her brother and proposes they go back to the car. They must first get back together. Becky begins to recite aloud a dirty rhyme. But Cal becomes perplexed because her voice appears to be coming from his left at first, then from his right. They then decide to leap in order to locate one another. They can see each other on the first jump, but even though they didn't walk, they suddenly became much farther apart on the second jump. Following the leap, Becky tumbles into the mud, prompting a terrified Cal to rush over to assist her. Now it's Cal's turn to slip into the muck, where he is horrified to see a dead dog named Freddy covered in flies, suggesting that he has been here for some time. The siblings search for hours without finding the other or the way out, and as dusk falls, they come to terms with the fact that they are stranded in the grass field. Becky tries phoning her brother once more, but she gives up and waits for Cal to find her instead. Unexpectedly, a spooky figure emerges from the grass. However, it is merely a man named Ross who offers to assist in removing her from the area. He says the reason he hasn't left yet is that he is still searching for his wife and son, whose voices the siblings heard early on, even though he has found a way out. Although Becky is hesitant to accept his assistance, she can't resist, so the two of them set off to find Cal. Cal keeps asking for Becky after some more time has passed, but to no avail. He is sitting there feeling let down when he is startled to see it's Tobin, the boy who had earlier called for assistance. He comforts Cal by stating that it's simpler to locate items after they've passed away. Weirded out, Cal queries whether Tobin was the one to entice them into the field. Tobin responds that he and his family entered because they heard a man yelling for assistance as well, but he is unsure of the duration of their stay. According to Tobin, his sister will pass away shortly. It seems that the rock imparts the ability to hear the grass, which is how knowledge is acquired. Next, Tobin starts directing Cal towards Becky. Ross surmises that Becky's baby's father isn't with her when they converse about her child in the interim. Becky discovers medication bottles and scissors on the ground as they stroll, but she's not sure how they got there. She notices Ross is no longer there when she looks again. After trying in vain to reach him, she switches to contacting Cal. She is searching the area for any evidence when all of a sudden she is grabbed and carried into the grass. Returning to Tobin, he leads Cal to a tiny, grassless space with an enigmatic, massive rock in the center of it. Cal is urged to touch it by Tobin, but as he approaches, he hears what appear to be murmurs of tribal chanting. Becky can be heard screaming just before Cal touches it, so he ignores Tobin's caution not to go inside and charges in her direction. The scene abruptly shifts to a clear day with a truck pulling at a petrol station on the road next to the church. Travis, Becky's ex, is here to search for the siblings. Travis starts yelling their names and searching for them, but nobody answers. He then goes into the church, but it's also deserted. When he takes up a book he finds on the floor on his way out, Becky's name is on it. Travis enters the grass field, too, thinking that his siblings have followed him. He folds the grass and follows the sun to maintain track of his whereabouts. Regretfully, the grass simply spreads out with each step he takes. Despite his perplexity, Travis continues walking until nightfall, even after realizing after a few feet that the sun has moved. He pauses to lie on the ground and gaze at Becky's picture because he is exhausted. Travis is startled by something that appears out of nowhere, Tobin, telling him he can lead him to Becky. Tobin says he knows Travis's name and that he's seeking for her as he hears whispering and laughter coming from the tall grass. Travis follows him without hesitation, but when he finds Becky's lifeless body in the middle of the pitch, he becomes very disturbed. Tobin tells Travis that the reason the grass doesn't move dead things is because it makes them easier to find. As he holds onto her while she sobs, Travis notices that Tobin has left. When Travis awakens the following morning, he finds Becky's lifeless body next to him. He resumes his movement after removing a necklace from her body, but he stops when he hears someone and begins to cry out for assistance. When Tobin answers, Travis shouts out for him once more so the youngster can locate him. But the Tobin who appears is tidy and in good health, and he is accompanied by his father Ross, mother Natalie, and dog Freddy. This demonstrates that the grass field is caught in a time loop of some kind. Tobin follows Freddie into the field without warning. Despite Natalie's cautions, all of a sudden, Travis attempts to warn Tobin not to go back inside at that precise time when he realizes he's managed to escape the pitch. But it's too late, the boy is coming for his family. Natalie leaves the group to go in search of Tobin after thinking she hears him nearby. When night strikes and Ross is searching for his family by alone, he finds the enigmatic rock. The following morning, Becky and Cal are once more outside the field with the car, and Tobin is calling for assistance. But Travis is also out in the field this time. He calls Becky's name and she responds, but both of her siblings are startled to hear him. Travis claims he came looking for them, a claim that Becky finds difficult to accept. Travis follows the sound of Tobin's voice repeating Becky's rhyme to locate the boy when they hear it all of a sudden. Travis and Becky are reunited after Becky follows suit, which makes for an awkward scene. Cal arrives shortly after, and it's obvious that he doesn't enjoy that Travis is there. The group discovers Freddie's body at that very moment. To further complicate matters, Travis claims to the siblings that they have been gone for 2 months, but they don't believe him because, in their eyes, they just departed 2 days ago. Travis carries Tobin on his shoulders so the youngster can find a way out when Becky suddenly feels like someone is observing them and tells them to leave. Luckily, he detects a building in the distance, and they begin to move in its direction. In the hopes that someone would come look for them, Cal asks Travis if he notified anyone about them. Unfortunately, Travis didn't. Travis asks about the baby as Becky starts to feel some pain in her abdomen at that moment. He touches the belly to feel the baby move, and Becky confirms that it's a girl. The phone rings out of nowhere, and they are startled to hear a voice that sounds much like Becky's. She is sobbing and begs them not to have Cal harm Travis because otherwise, they will keep making the same mistake. The gang decides to continue traveling despite the fact that they are being seen by someone through the grass because it all seems so impossible. A short while later, Becky trips in the mud, and as she falls, she is startled and nearly passes out from bizarre visions of a baby, long grass, and strange people approaching her. As Cal and Travis rush towards her, Ross appears and offers to assist her as well, claiming he can lead them out. Travis informs him about the building they saw and raises Tobin once more, but this time he is unable to see the building. All that is seen is grass. Inexplicably, Ross states that's how things operate there. After walking for a while, the gang eventually comes back to the rock. This time, they discover that the rock is covered in carvings. Ross explains as he touches the rock that he thinks it alludes to a greater wisdom. Cal is urged to touch the rock by Rossi, who everyone finds weird, and he claims he will also gain information. Natalie stops him before it can happen by emerging from the grass and advising her own husband to avoid them. She informs the others that Ross is lying because she clearly fears him, then goes on to say that she has seen Ross and Becky before, but it was when Ross attempted to harm Natalie and Becky wasn't living. Ross contests this, and as they dispute, Becky continues to experience images, but this time she also spots Ross in the grass, appearing to be quite otherworldly. Becky tells Travis and Cal to go because she's terrified. Ross continues to try to coax Natalie and Tobin into touching the rock despite their best efforts to persuade them to accompany them. Travis slashes it, starting a dispute that quickly devolves into a brawl. Becky begs Cal to assist Travis as the two men trade blows, but Cal declines. Ross continues to insist that Travis touch the rock during their struggle, and in the end, he is finally overpowered by Ross to win. Next, Ross strikes Natalie, hitting her head with his bare fist to demonstrate that he has fully lost it. After the other members of the group escape Ross and locate Freddie, they start to follow him until they get to an abandoned building. Once inside, Travis and Cal argue because they think each other is responsible for the mess. Cal accuses Travis of wanting Becky to abort the child and blames him for leaving her. Travis responds by suggesting that Cal harbors inappropriate desires for his sister, which prompts Cal to strike out and start a fight. Ross catches up at that point and attempts to smash the door. The party heads straight up the stairs to the roof and surveys the area, spotting the church across the field. Sadly, they would have to cross the grass to get there, so they attempt to come up with another strategy. Travis looks over and suddenly sees Freddie rushing by, but the dog vanishes as soon as he steps into the grass. This gives them the impression that there is a gap in the system that could let them escape. Travis steps on the edge of the roof to get a better look at the field in an attempt to find additional clues, which leads to him slipping. Travis collapses to the ground as Cal notices, but is unable to save him. Tobin witnesses all of this, and when Cal sees the youngster, he makes an effort to clarify. However, Ross starts to approach at that very moment. While the group starts running once more, Becky stops short of leaving without asking after Travis. Becky walks away from her brother after becoming suspicious that Cal may have done something to Travis and leaving before he can respond. Ross unexpectedly catches Cal as he tries to follow her, suggesting that he is aware of the truth regarding the Travis incident. Ross resists Cal's attempts to flee, holding him to the ground while he fights for his life. Suddenly, a large number of bodies emerge on the grassy area. After discovering that Travis is still alive, he gets up to search for Becky once more. They are unable to see one another, yet when he calls out her name, she responds. After giving up, they both collapse onto the grass and resume talking about their child. Travis then expresses his satisfaction with Becky's choice to keep the child. But Becky admits that she wasn't intending to retain the kid. Travis is upset and vows he will find a way out. Ross appears out of nowhere and assaults Becky. Ross quickly disarms Becky after she manages to grab the scissors she discovered on the ground during the battle. Then, with the intention of taking advantage of her, he drags her to the ground. But this allows Becky the opportunity to seize the scissors once more and stab Ross in the eye. Becky rushes as quickly as she can as the rain begins to fall, but she panics when she sees that dozens of grass people are approaching her from all directions. She is seized by these strange people and dragged into the grass. Becky discovers herself resting in the mud in front of the rock a little while later. She takes out her phone and calls the number they had heard earlier regarding Cal not being able to harm Travis. Becky is suddenly surrounded by the grass people as they return and she screams in agony, knowing that her body has chosen to give birth. The birth corresponds with the drawings on the rock, and the visions return. Following a lot of pushing, Becky hears the infant cry but is unable to see her. Abruptly, the earth quivers and divides into an enormous trench separating her from the rock. As Becky leans on the edge and peers inside, she notices a large number of individuals struggling to escape by hanging to the old tree's limbs. Before fatigue overcomes Becky and she passes asleep, she yells and pulls back. She opens her eyes a little while later and inquires about the kid. Unexpectedly, Cal responds, soothing her and giving her some water. Additionally, he shows her a baby, which relieves Becky. Cal starts feeding her as she shuts her eyes once more, and Becky is so hungry that she eats everything. Although Cal claims it's only grass and seeds, Becky finds it tastes strange and becomes alarmed upon learning that she's actually eating human flesh, and that Cal is actually Ross. Despite his severe injuries, Travis continues to look for Becky. When Becky wonders about the baby, Travis examines her belly and discovers the child has vanished. Eventually, he finds her lying alone on the ground. When Tobin reappears, he tells him that Ross killed everyone while he sobs in sorrow. He goes on to say that Ross will kill them repeatedly and that he won't stop. Travis gives a terrified Tobin a hug and promises not to let anyone touch him when he begins to weep. After that, Travis yells at Ross and demands to know whether he intends to kill him. Without warning, Ross emerges from the grass and strikes Travis, attempting to murder him despite Tobin's cries for him to stop. Ross uses a bone to assault Travis, causing him to collapse, and then pursues his son. Ross catches Tobin as he attempts to flee and tries to coerce him into touching the rock. Abruptly, Becky stands up and strikes Ross in the back. At that point, Travis also gets up and strikes Ross, causing him to bang his head on the rock before tying some grass around his neck to kill him. Then, while he sobs, Travis rushes to Becky and holds her. With nothing further to do, Tobin tells Travis that he won't be able to leave if he touches the rock as he gets closer to it. He feels strange when Travis touches it while ignoring him. Abruptly, a red light appears from the rock and covers the entire field, giving the impression that it has been cleaned. Travis looks now scary, the way Ross used to be. Tobin gets scared. The youngster turns to flee, but Travis stops him and invites him to follow him. The rock had informed Travis of the presence of the grass field. Therefore, Ross hadn't been lying. In an attempt to break the loop, he leads Tobin to the edge of the field and requests that he notify Becky and Cal so they won't enter there again. Then he shoves Tobin out of the field and hands him Becky's jewelry. Tobin arrives in the church attic in the blink of an eye. He unlocks the door and steps outside, observing Becky and Cal's vehicle parked on the street. They hear someone shouting for help, so they are ready to enter the field, but Tobin rushes over to stop them. Cal looks rather strange because he can hear his own voice coming from the grass as well, and he starts to approach it looking perplexed. Tobin is pleading with Becky to stop him, and in order to support his claims, he shows her the necklace Travis gave him. After comparing it to her own necklace, Becky is stunned, and she finally decides to go stop her brother when Tobin says Travis' name. After that, Becky persuades Cal to go, and they drive Tobin along with them. But since she's decided to keep the baby, Becky wants him to return rather than travel to San Diego. After hearing Becky's remarks in the field, Travis decides to lie down and let the grass cover him because he is pleased with the transformation.